Hello all, Alison here. Welcome back to Words and Pictures for some more tag time. It is tag time. You can see there are tags. It's partly a few minutes of fun. It's also partly books, because it is officially part 2 of the Halloween Concertina Tag Book game. And today we're going to have a look at construction. There are a number of ways to do this. Ordinarily, when I make a tag book, it's because I've got a bunch of tags that all work together and they're pretty much finished tags at the point when I do it. So collaging and all of that sort of thing is already done. With this one, because there's such a huge contrast between the two kinds of tags I'm using, I mean, I think they're going to look spectacular together. I'm inclined to put it together and then do the collaging because I'm not sure exactly how much I'm going to want. Some of these backgrounds I really don't want to cover up very much. So we'll see. But the construction of one of these concertina tag books, this one you can see, so these tags were all done already and it was a question of putting them together. I'll link to the flip through of this so you can have a look at it in more detail and find out what I used to make it. Stamps and product wise, but the binding for this was really simple. I don't know if you can even see because they're so close together. In between you might just be able to see two little bits of ribbon there, so I just laid the ribbon across as a hinge and glued everything back to back. I'm thinking of getting just a little bit fancier than that today. I'd quite like to insert, I've got these lovely bits of tissue paper sticking out, and I'm thinking I'd quite like to maybe have a little bit of cheesecloth also sticking out. So it's going to be an interesting gluing game. But the first task is to work out the order I want these to go in. So my plan at the moment is to alternate because I think that's going to be fun. Alternating this spooky, mysterious ones we created last time out. I'll link to that. And these rusty patina ones, which is really officially episode 1. So this was episode 1, episode 2. This is really episode 3, but those were a standalone thing. Maybe that, or maybe something a bit greener. Ooh, maybe it's that. And then on the other side, they're going to start the other way round. So I'm going to start with, and I think this one is going to end up being the cover. So I might want to think about what I want as my cover. Maybe that. So that's going to go like so. And maybe you next. And maybe you. That seems like quite a good balancing act. Got red and green, I've got green and red, I've got a lot of green there, which I love. So when I glue these down, I need to get them going in the opposite order. So that one's going to glue to the back of here. That one's going to glue to the back of here. That one's going to glue to the back of here. That one's going to glue to the back of here. But that means when they're the other way up, they need to be, yes, no, that is right. It is as simple as that. It is as simple as turn them over. And then when I glue these down on top of here, that should work it out. Usually I'm not doing this on camera. It's a while since I've made one of these. So the basic task is to cut 2 pieces of ribbon. And because it's never visible, I'm using up some fairly shiny ribbon that I'm not a fan of shiny ribbon, so it's not a thing I use very often. You could leave extra hanging out and make that the thing you tie things shut with. But I think I might make these the hinges and trim to here and then have something else as the thing which is actually going to be the tie shut. Let me find a scissor, that's what I'm after. Right, so I'm going to make 2 hinge versions. So that needs to go all the way across. And I'm going to hinge sort of about 1/3 of the way down. And then again, 1/3 of the way down. And those are going to be trimmed and they're going to be barely seen in the same way as on here. Really not seen at all. But then I think what I want to do is send something a bit more interesting through the middle that will be the thing that we can then use to tie things shut. That could be twine, but that's going to create quite a bump in the middle of the tags. On the other hand, if I am using some cheesecloth, that's going to create a bump as well. Let's see. I'm just musing. Maybe I don't have it going all the way along. Maybe I just attach a little bit of something that's going to be our tie right to the end two tags. But then, hang on, let's have a look. When that comes out and then you fasten it, it's going to go right, but this is one shorter. Yes, it will be at the right end because this is 7 tags long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 6 tags long, so it is going to end on a fold that joins together here. So we could. It's mechanics. It's logistics. I think what I might do is have just a little bit of twine coming out of the end pieces, and then that gives me that option. If I hate it, I can always trim it off. That's the great thing. I'm going to create a little bit of random texture with some pieces of ripped cheesecloth, just because I think that'll be a fun and funky thing to have sticking out. So maybe a little bit coming out of the top of that tag, a little bit coming out of the top of that tag, a little bit coming out of the top and the side of that tag because it's an end one. That'll be nice. A little bit coming out of the bottom as well, maybe. That's pretty good. So when I glue these back to back, this will hold down in any case, but I might put a little dot of glue in advance to just keep it in place. Do I want it on every page? I think maybe I do. I'm planning, so we'll do this, as you can already tell, over a number of sessions. We'll do a collaging session, we'll do a finishing touches session, we'll do this construction session. We've already done our background sessions. So it's a project that's going to build up over the course of October into something hopefully fun. Then we might do a final books episode with a flip through. There we go. So I'm covering all the bases here in October. There we go. Let's have a little bit of that coming out of the bottom there. A little bit more ripped, I think would be nice. And then part of me, so I've got little bits of tissue sticking out over the ends here. Part of me is sort of tempted to add a little bit more tissue. So this is not just construction anymore. This is still decoration. I've got tissue just hanging around here, leftovers from when we did some of the backgrounds, and I'm just thinking it might be nice to have a little bit of extra tissue texture, just kind of peeking out. So maybe there, maybe there. I think that's going to be fun. Quite like the idea of it. Maybe down here, maybe up here. And I'll be able to give that a little coat of varnish or sealant or just paint to give it a bit more stability later on. So yes, I am going to put a little bit of glue just to sort of hold these vaguely in place. Not with any perfectly glued, finished delight. Because in a minute I'm going to have to start juggling the tags and pushing them around to make sure they're close enough to each other for the moment when I glue the ribbon down that's going to be our hinges holding things together. So it would be easier if there isn't a load of extraneous stuff also causing chaos at that point. If you see what I mean. Okay, now I've got gluey, thready fingers. Just going to live with it. This is experimental. It's playtime. That's what we're doing here. We're playing, remember. It should be fun. Even if we're calling it tag time and not a few minutes of fun, the point of tag time is to have some fun with tags specifically. So are we nearly there? Is that everything vaguely glued down that I want to glue down? You're not. There we are. It's just to hold things in place while I play. Let's pop you there. An extra little bit of texture, might as well since you're there. Go on. It doesn't want to. It's gluing to my fingers instead of to the card. Always the way. Great. Now these I want close enough that they're going to have almost nothing in between, but far enough apart that they will comfortably fold when they're 2 tags thick. So it needs a little bit of space in between, but not too much. Little bit of space in between, but not too much. I can always dig out those little bits of sticky out stuff with a tweezer later. I think that's probably about what we want. I would say that's maybe between 1 and 2 millimeters between tags. There's a bit of green texture sticking out there, getting in my way. A bit of tissue texture sticking out there, getting in my way. Now, because I cut these white tags very roughly, they're not necessarily all exactly the same size as the manila ones, which are machine cut, I dare say. There we go. So just getting the right sort of distance in between them. Now it's time to get this ribboned. Thanks for that. That was really helpful, tag. Get the first lot of rhythm down. So all I'm going to do is go across here at what is hopefully the same height in a line. Shiny ribbon can be quite difficult to get to glue down, so if you've got linen ribbon or anything like that, I recommend using that. But I'm using this up because it's in my stash. Somebody gave me a whole bunch of shiny ribbons and I need to make use of them because otherwise that is wasteful. There we go. Okay, that's close enough for now. Just getting that glued down. And this is not a science, as you can see. I hope yes, I'm mostly on camera. This one will be on camera. Here we go. So again, just a line of glue. Just as well I hadn't zoomed in, eh? A line of glue on each of those. This is my usual Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue. As you can see, that fine applicator is useful for getting a nice thin line of glue. But any glue you've got, and apply it any way you like. You can use a brush to get that fine line. Just make sure you wash your brush afterwards. So at the moment, this is all quite wobbly and flexible. But as soon as I glue the other half down on top, that's going to give us a lot more stability, because that will glue things together. So on a wing and a prayer, here's another little bit of cheesecloth that just wants to stick up out of there. Do we think we've got enough in between? Because now's the moment. If I want anything else coming out from in between, it has to happen now. Oh yes, I was thinking of having something here. Do I want twine, or do I maybe want... I've got some really scrumptious sari ribbon. I've got lace. We could dye some lace. We can make that be our tie. Now it's a bit frilly. Let me go and see what... Oh, hello. How about you? We used you in something just recently. Maybe if I rip you down the middle. So this is linen ribbon. This is a lovely... Thing is, it's not very long what I've got here, and by the time I've glued a bit, it's not going to give us very much to tie with. It's quite nice though, isn't it? Let's do that. Don't know till we're there whether it's really going to make me happy, but it's paper and a bit of fabric and a bit of this and a bit of that. What's the real harm in trying something? So this is a little fastener just in the edge of those tags. And again, that may not seem very firmly glued, but any second now, I'm about to glue to the back of each of these the other side of our concertina album. Wish me luck. Here we go. So simple as bit of glue, and again you can use a softer brush on glue for this. You need something a bit firmer than a basic decoupage. Probably decoupage glues tend to be really geared around tissue paper or napkins, or quite light bits of paper, gluing to quite light bits of paper. I want something sturdy to keep us together here. And I'm fine with things ending up a little bit wobbly and a little bit. What I do need to make sure is that I will be able to close my book. So I'm just going to take another little look at this one and see how far apart these are. They're really quite close together, aren't they? And they fold perfectly happily. But then, of course, if I want to put a little bit more embellishing on these, so some sort of dimension, I might want to work with having them a little bit further apart. Yeah, so I'm just going to give a little tug to each of these to give me maybe 2 millimeters in between. I think that will do me. And then I can put a bit more collaging, a bit more embellishment, so on and so forth onto these. It'll just create a bit more space for that. There are so many delicious little sort of metal bits and bobs that it would be nice to be able to add some of those into the collaging. I really love the look of the contrast at the moment between our misty, mysterious, mossy, these are the end backgrounds, misty, mysterious, mossy backgrounds with the brick walls, mostly in neutrals, but with a little bit of bubbling cauldron green. All of that is in the video that I'll link. I'm really enjoying the contrast between those and these really vivid, rusty, patina, coppery affairs. Love those cobwebs. So this, you can probably see there's a little extra outline of white tag around that coppery one. And that's because, as I say, I cut these very roughly. But I think that's going to give our album a really chunky, nice. That's why I've got extra bits sticking out over the edges. I knew there was going to be a, oh, do I want to go red, red? Do I want to go red, green, red? Maybe I want to go red, green, red. Good. So continue to keep an eye out on what's going on the desk in front of you, because things may change. Your brain suddenly goes, oh no, that one next, please. And we're not going to see the reveal on the other side until we turn over, which will be a lovely, magical moment. There we go. So you glued down to there. And again, there's a lovely outline on that. It's like a sort of, it's almost like a frame. Sometimes when I mount a tag to give it a frame on a background, you've got that lovely white outline. We can always ink that later if we feel like it's too white in a spooky project. A little bit of extra glue just down there, because that is, this tag, because it's got so much embossing powder on, is quite stiff, not terribly willing to be glued down flat. There we go, that'll do it. So all of these ones that have got a slight bend on them are now going to magically transform into nice flat pages for the most part. You can see that one at the end is kicking up, so I'm promising you this won't necessarily come true, but again, it's going to give us a lovely, chunky, interesting look rather than all flat and perfect and tidy. In case you haven't noticed, I'm not flat and perfect and tidy. It's not my style. I enjoy grungy and textured and a little bit messy. But by all means, work in the style that makes you happy. But my guess is, if you are a tidy, clean and simple crafter, you've probably long vanished from this channel to go and find a channel more after your own heart. And that's fine. We should all follow the creative paths that give us joy. There's no point trying to be the same as somebody else, or work in a way that doesn't lift your heart, because you won't turn up to the table each day. You just won't. It won't be a place that beckons you, summons you, calls you. And if you want to make creativity part of your daily life, then it has to be a thing. that gives you joy. You're never going to show up for something that isn't making you happy. Why would you? Ooh. So I'm going to have to use a hole punch on some of these holes, because as you can see, I hadn't yet put the holes into those. On the other hand, no, because I do want some toppers. This one, it was twine and ribbon, and we might do something like that. That'll be in the finishing touches episode, way down the path, when I've worked out what I want. I'm really enjoying these bits of cheesecloth and things sticking out all over the place. Shall I turn it over or shall I fold it up? What do you want to see first? Let's flip it. See what we've got on the other side. Ooh, so many spaces to work on. So this is partly the reason why I wanted to have things glued down and constructed before doing the collaging, because I'm not entirely sure how much I'm going to want to put on these, and by having them already next to each other, that gives me a much better idea of how things are going to look in the long run. So my hope is that that's going to make my cover. Yes, and there's my tie just to hold it together. Does it hold it together if it's only one side? Did I need it both sides? Or maybe I attach something else that's going to hold it together in one direction. Interesting. Well, that's quite nice though, because then you can stand it on a shelf. That's quite cool. Grand. Let's have a little explore of what we've got. If I tie a little bit more on here, then I could have it going all the way around. And that's something I might do with twine, in fact. Have something to fasten it all the way around. There we go. So if that's, for instance, supposedly the cover, then you turn and get pairs of pages with the contrast, flipping over, pairs of pages, each one with that fabulous contrast. I'm really excited about the look of this already. And can you see how those wonderful bits of stuff sticking out are giving us that extra bit of joy, extra bit of delight? Grand. So that's the very simple construction that I enjoy for a concertina tag book. As you can see, I have glued these deliberately slightly further apart than I did with this, because this was very much flat stamping and just a few layers of paper. Whereas on here, I'm thinking I maybe want a little bit more dimension. So I've left a little bit more space, which is going to mean there's room for stuff to sit on these pages. You can, of course, fold it both ways. So at the moment, that could be the cover, and or that could be the cover. You can open in that direction. Or if I fold up that way, so that's flipping in the other direction, then I get that as the cover, and that him as the back cover. That's also quite cool, isn't it? And for some reason, my tapes have ended up at the same side again. My brain is not computing that very well. I might at some point just take that off, because it's going to come off. Let's do it now. Grand. Okay, that's a great start, isn't it? Construction on our tag book, ready to play. So next episode, I think I'm going to stick with the idea of going from Wednesday to Saturday to Wednesday to Saturday. We'll see how far we get. Things are going to be a little bit topsy-turvy this month. But yeah, this month is pretty much all about our Halloween Concertina Tag Book. Thanks so much for your company. As always, I will try to link to relevant videos down below. I will include a list of ingredients we've used today, but it's only really going to be glue and ribbon and cheesecloth and tissue. Okay, enough to write a list with. Other ingredients, go to the linked videos if you want to see what we used to create our tag backgrounds earlier than that. Thank you so much for your company. As always, leave me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I would love to have your company on this creative journey. And happy crafting all.